Look, commodities, as we know, have been sold off heavily. A little bit of a rebound today. A couple of companies that are doing quite well, Western Areas and IGO. IGO has come out in response to some speculation in the media saying that it's made a next step in its ambitions to take over Western Areas, being due diligence. And it has confirmed that it has begun due diligence regarding a potential change of control transaction, though it remarks that no certainty is that a transaction will result, which is pretty common language in these things in early days. But basically, IGO is, trying to ride that wave towards some of these battery technologies, these materials that will be used in there, particularly nickel. Of course, Western Areas primarily a nickel and copper play. So let's get a view on IGO and Western Areas. I'll start with you, Gary Glover.
Yeah, look, I think IGO's been a great sort of performer here in the last sort of 12 months. Obviously, in that lithium space, it's sort of viewed as sort of one of the sort of top tier sort of companies there. I think it's a good move to actually diversify here. And we've just sort of seen here in the last week here that one of the Chinese sort of car manufacturers is now using a sodium-ion battery rather than a nickel. And there's also a lot of smart players are looking at hydrogen as well as another potential energy form in that electricity space. So it's not all going to be lithium there. I think everyone's sort of this lithium, like the iron ore, has had a pretty hot run here, and we've seen a lot of the hot commodities, once they run up pretty hot, then they tend to cool off here. So I think it's smart by IGO to actually to be looking at Western Areas and diversifying. But I think the price of IGO here is too high at these, up above $9 here. We've literally gone from $4 a year ago up to sort of 10 here. So on a pretty hot run, and we've just sort of seen how, you just don't want to be chasing the hot commodities. So they can come up here. I'm seeing massive signs of distribution on most of the lithium stocks. So the volume over the last month have almost like doubled or tripled. And that's after a massive move here. So that tells me there's, the institutions is actually sort of, taking this opportunity to do some selling here at these higher levels. So I would be sitting back. I wouldn't be buying up here. But I think it's for the company, it's a smart move.
Got it. Now, if I go to you, Kevin, on Independence Group, those lithium names, anything that has to do with battery technologies, there's been such a broader narrative around them being really in tune with a mega trend, which is the electrification of the globe. Do you buy into that type of story?
Well, it's very difficult, particularly with miners, to follow them from our point of view. We don't follow many miners, and the main reason is because they don't have control over the prices of their commodity. Of course, they don't have pricing control. However, in terms of the broad thing, it is a very interesting story to look at, as you say, the electrification of vehicles, the battery technology in all sorts of areas. There's kind of a perfect storm with batteries in the last few years coming into small devices, vehicles, and also storage for renewable energy. But like Gary says, new battery minerals are coming on all the time. I read about one which was a iron oxygen. So in other words, you rust the iron. Very heavy, no good for portable uses, but perfect for large-scale renewable energy storage, and it's a lot cheaper than the lithium ions and not anywhere near as prone to catching fire, as we've seen recently. In terms of copper, also, they're saying that copper is one because electric vehicles need a lot more copper. So there's, in the future, supposedly a big demand for copper. However, I have also seen where developments in the motors, so instead of winding copper in the motors, I have seen other minerals being used in an effort to reduce weight and move to copper. So I guess for me, it's very, very much in flux. There are lots of developments. There's lots of innovation in this area. It's very difficult to predict what will happen. In terms of IGO in particular, it doesn't meet our measures. It has very low return on equity, return on capital, and the stability of the growth in earnings is very low as well. So in terms of Teaminvest, it's not a company that we look at closely.
So that is not a buy coming from Teaminvest